Is a state of emergency going to be declared in the country? Such a question can come to anyone's mind. If they see a status given by Mr. Pinaki Bhattacharya a while ago, I read what he wrote there and I want to say a few things based on it. And there has been an attempt to keep this conversation in our field for a long time. There has been an attempt to talk about the situation of declaring a state of emergency if President Mr. Shahabuddin Chappu is kept in charge, and he and Waqar together can declare a state of emergency or declare a state of emergency. What did he write? I am reading Mr. Pinaki's Facebook status a little. It seems that Waqar has gone to Bangabhavan to suggest declaring a state of emergency. I told Chupur that he will do this. He did not listen. Let's see if Professor Yunus' government is okay. What does Chappu do? And what does Professor Yunus do? This is his statement. I mean, according to his statement, we understand that he is saying that he thinks that Mr. Waqar has gone to Bangabhavan. We do not know whether Mr. Waqar has gone to Bangabhavan. He can go. He is the commander-in-chief of the army, the country. He may need to be briefed for various reasons. He may need his advice for various reasons, so he can go. But I actually want to focus on the state of emergency. Especially after spending the last 2 or 3 days in a lot of turmoil, this talk of emergency may seem very relevant or related to some. I am talking about that in that context. There is a situation in the Constitution of Bangladesh to declare a state of emergency. Broadly speaking, we have these. In fact, this time we have discussed changing this and this clause in the Consensus Commission. I am not going to go into that discussion. Now, since Bangladesh is still under the existing constitution, let's see what is said about a state of emergency under that constitution and whether the army chief and the president can jointly declare it. Article 141 says that if there is war, internal unrest, and it is said that if security and economic life are endangered, the president can declare a state of emergency. But the most important place is where the written approval of the cabinet or the signature of the prime minister is required. This is the most urgent matter, the approval of the cabinet or the signature of the prime minister. If the president wants to do this work, then of course the prime minister, our current prime minister, is the chief advisor. He will need testimony. Otherwise, a state of emergency cannot be declared in the current constitutional framework. So from the beginning, when Mr. Chappu was being tried to be removed, this talk was brought to the fore that he has the power to declare a state of emergency. At some point, he and General Waqar, who were both prone to being tagged as some kind of fault of the Awami League, together they can declare a state of emergency and bring down this government, etc., etc. These talks were brought to the fore. I spoke in detail one day about why a state of emergency can be declared. Let me tell you this for now. I mean, if a state of emergency is declared, how many fundamental rights that we have, all or some of them, the government will decide when it declares it. They can suspend everything, or suspend some, and keep some going. I mean, let me give you a small example. For example, if the government imposes a curfew, it can completely stop any gathering or assembly anywhere it wants. And to seek a remedy for this, usually if the government takes such a decision, then the people have a place. That is, they can go to the High Court and file a writ. But in this case, a writ cannot be filed either. So in such a situation, there may be scope for such actions. Interference with the freedom of expression can lead to censorship there. For this reason, a state of emergency is usually considered in such an emergency situation. But I repeat, a state of emergency cannot be declared without the direct involvement of the chief advisor. That means if a state of emergency is declared in the country, it is not done by Chappu Aryan and Bokar together. The president is the chief of the army, meaning the army chief actually has no role here. I read you about this from the constitution. Basically, it is the president and the prime minister, or at the moment the de facto prime minister or the chief advisors. Without them, there is no scope for declaring a state of emergency in the country. So if a state of emergency is declared, Professor Dr. Yunus is among them. There is a counter-signature. It will not happen only if there is consent. The counter-signature is in that retained document. We can definitely assume this. So we should not think this in any way. The president can do this on the advice or pressure of the army chief. He cannot. He cannot. In fact, what has happened is that I have seen for a long time that there has been an attempt to remove the army chief and the president for a long time. That is why there should be valid allegations against them, and let's talk about them. But all such allegations have been made against them that actually have no validity. This is disinformation. Misinformation is being spread deliberately. With these removals, we have been saying for a long time that sabotaging the elections is associated with an attempt to postpone them in our favor. Another manifestation of those things. So, in this time of turmoil in the country, why should we not think in any way that at least at this moment a state of emergency is being declared? And no matter how we look at our situation, we are not seeing a situation that would warrant a state of emergency, the kind of severe conditions that are being talked about. I am seeing, for sure, a lot of mismanagement by this government. The law and order situation is not as good as it should be. There is no situation that would warrant a state of emergency, and it is not going to happen. And finally, I repeat, if a state of emergency is declared, it will not actually be by the decision of the president. It will be by the decision of the chief advisor. The president will not really